expansion as well. So, with that being said, I want to introduce to some and reintroduce to others the amazing Alicia Richardson. With that being said, Alicia, I give you the stage.
Good morning. Good morning, Jasmine. Good morning, everyone in the listening lounge. I am so excited to be here. First of all, we got 5 days until Christmas, right? And I'm excited. We do things a little differently, in my household, and that's fine. Everybody has their own thing. Um, but anyway, today I want to focus on, well, first of all, hey sis, show up for you in morning motivation. As we're streaming on two platforms, or more than two, Facebook, YouTube, and Clubhouse. The reason we have morning motivation, or hey sis, show up for you, is to get you to feel like you want to get out of the bed and not feel like you have to get out of the bed. And that mindset shift makes a difference in how you show up for yourself. And what me and Jasmine like to focus on is to get those who are interested on how they can connect with themselves, begin to connect with their true identity, and connect with the person who gave them that identity. So, in other words, it's all about who you are and whose you are here. And it hates to show up for you, and also morning motivation. And so today, as we begin to jump in, we want to focus on joy. We want to focus on getting your joy back. And so I don't know, for a lot of you all, including you, Jasmine, like, have you ever been in a place where you just did not feel like yourself? Like, have you ever been in a place to where it's like you felt like you lost your smile, or you lost your mojo, or I don't know, like you just lost something along the way, whether it was, due to any of life circumstances, experiences, or things like that. You just lost it. And for myself, I can well, my joy when I started losing my joy was actually when I was in an active duty being active duty in the military. You go through so much stuff, and it makes you kind of think about where you were, like as a child, and remembering how people would tell you, oh my God, Alicia, you're always smiling. Why are you so happy, so early in the morning? And I never could give them an answer why. It was just me. I just loved it. I love smiling. But then one day people kept asking me, Alicia, what's wrong with you? Like, are you okay? And I'm sitting here, I still, like, I'm thinking I'm looking the same way. And I'm like, why are people keep asking me that? But then I realized, like, I was not showing up in the world the way I used to show up. I was not feeling the joy that I would feel. And I had a moment where I actually had to see a psychologist. And she asked me a question. She said, when was the last time you were really happy? And I couldn't answer that. I could not answer the last time I was internally happy. And so I went through all of my resources and did all of my inner work and inner healing. And so now I'm back. Like, there was a moment where I was so scared because I was on the phone crying with my friend. I said, well, what if I could never be happy again? What if I never get back to the place of where I was? And so, of course, like, that was a scary place for me. And so today, I don't know if that's, anyone here who's in the audience who's ever experienced that, or currently experiencing that, but that's what we're dealing with this week. We're going to work on how to get our joy back. Okay. Um, so, and another reason I want to, and Jasmine, once I say this, I'm gonna pass the mic to you so you can kind of jump in on that. I don't know if you want to share something, but another reason I wanted to bring this up during this time is because around the holiday season, especially Christmas and Thanksgiving, a lot of people begin to lose their joy. They're not necessarily, happy around this time, just because a lot of horrible and things that we don't want to remember happen around this time. We might lose someone. We might relationships may have ended, all around this time. And so, how can we focus on our joy and continue to live in our joy, even while experiencing the our joy, right? That's what I want to say. So Jasmine, let me go ahead and pass the mic to you, and let me know your thoughts.
Listen, I love. Can everybody can hear me? Correct. Okay, perfect. So, with that being said, I want to go ahead and thank you for the way you introduced that because it definitely gave me a different direction of going. But yes, I have. I would, if you was to ask me, when was the last time I was happy? I would say like truly authentically happy like now. But if you would have asked me that question before, like I would have said, I've had moments of happiness, moments of joy, but I never really knew what that was throughout my entire life. Like I've had things that make me smile. Of course, I always smile, but it goes back to that whole idea and concept. Like sometimes we put on masks, sometimes we show up as happy when truly we're struggling, and sometimes we get so used to faking it that it hurts a little bit. So like that was one thing that really came to mind. Is like if you was to ask me when was the happiest time in my life, I'm going to say now. Like I've never felt as happy, as peaceful, free to just be free to just do. I've never felt as much joy with being secure in my purpose, being secure in who I am. And that is something I've always desired. Then now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm living. Like, I've made it to the peak. Like, I'm here. But there's so much more for me to go and grow and learn now. So like it's like this experience is transformative, and it's something that continues to go. So I would say now, but to give like instances of the past, like I did go through a period of time in my life where I lost my smile. And if you ever, so like if people ever meet me, if you have a real personal relationship, even if you follow me on Instagram, sometimes you've met me in little glimpse, right? But if you truly know me, people call me Smiley because I always got this big cheese on my face. Like my friend Kia, she calls me Smiley. People used to be like, "Oh, you're just like the sunshine," and it's like I would smile, and that was genuinely like what I do. Feel like like even for like people on my family, like my brother's kids, they look like me, but they always smiling too. And they're like, "Why are you always smiling?" It's like, why not smile? It takes so much. It takes so much more energy to frown, to be angry, than it is to smile. But like genuinely, like there was something in me that was just happy to live life, happy to enjoy the experience. Now, when I went through my period of like not being able to smile, it's because I was so depressed. I was depressed with how my life looked. I was depressed with feeling like I was behind, feeling like things weren't changing and progressing for me. I was so busy, focused on, honestly, if I was to be honest, like to be truthfully transparent with where I was, majority of my life where I lost my smile was when I was searching for myself. And the crazy thing is, I would go to people, I would go to therapy, I would try to go to therapists, but if you know my story, like none of the therapists accepted me. It was kind of just like, you too smart to be in therapy, or I'm giving them suggestions on how they can really make the experience, employable for their clients. Like it was never like, hey, this is the experience you're going to enjoy. It was just like, this is something now you're going to teach and you're going to like expand their mindset. So now that I am like, I welcome those experiences because it happened to me in my past, but it's different for me now, right? But when it came down to it, I didn't smile when I didn't know who I was. Like, and I was searching. I was always asking, who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? What is this place? Like, and that was the most time that I felt the most miserable, where I could not smile. But as soon as I started like my spiritual journey, I started really growing into things that's deeper of God, asking God to reveal Himself, and just like literally searching for Him. I started off searching for Him externally. That took my joy too, because I was like, it's so many different conclusions. Everybody telling me everything is not working out. But then when I started taking time and just reflecting with myself, which I've done all my life, I really started to understand concepts, understand God for myself, and understand how God is in me, how He shows up in and through me. And that brought my joy back, even to today. Like, I really authentically can be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so blessed. I'm here. I know who I am. Like, this is so satisfying. So that's it. That's really what brought my joy back. That's the one thing that gives me joy, and it really speaks a lot of volume of how I understand how I struggled when I didn't know who I was, when I didn't understand the human experience, when I didn't understand why I was here, why this family, why these incidents. And even down to like Christmas, like me and Lisa talk offline, but Christmas for me was never, holidays for me had never been a source of joy. This is probably the first Christmas that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to. I'm super happy. I'm not looking forward to it in a way of like, I got to give gifts, I got to do this. I'm looking forward to it in another way of experiencing a beautiful day in life where I could see things differently. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Alicia, and then I'll jump back in.
You brought up a few things, like when it comes to joy, the things that we tend to, first of all, okay, so joy and happiness, right? Two different things. Okay. So happiness are like these moments in our life, these moments that we can look to that can make us smile, moments that are like these, the moments of being happy, right? But joy is an internal thing that you have. Joy is this kind of like this internal, like when things are not going the way you want them to, when things are like things aren't going your way, whatever, that joy keeps you steadfast, right? So it's going to always have that internal excitement, that zeal for life. Okay, so happiness and joy, two different things. But another thing you said with your experience is having like these masks and filters on. And so what happens is, and this is my experience, like through our roles and the things that we play in our life, right? Being a mother, being a wife, being a coworker, a friend, being church leader, being any type of leader, right? We have to show up where we feel like we can't show up as our genuine self, because if we do, we don't know how people going to accept that, right? And a lot of the reasons is because we haven't even really accepted ourselves. So if with when it comes to having masks and filters, we live in those every day. But when we start taking that off, when we start taking off the filters, the masks, I don't want to say the makeup, because I feel like you can be your true self still wearing makeup. I don't know why a lot of people throw that in there. I do see how it can end up being vain, but that's not what I mean by the mask. What I mean is the way that you show up, the way that you show up and present yourself to the world, or what you think other people might like about you. Okay. So that's what I mean by mask and filters. But the more we operate in this false, I want to call it the false settle of life, right? Because the false settle is like that fake note when you sing. But the false settles of life, when you continue to live in that place inside of these masks, you typically begin to break down like the joy that you had, that innocence, that childhood, that childhood zeal for life. Um, and we begin to lose ourselves. Again, it's because we haven't really accepted ourselves, and so we don't feel like, because we haven't accepted ourselves, we feel that others won't accept us. So um where was I going with that? Okay, so mass filters, accepting ourselves. All right, so yeah, so as you begin to dive deeper into yourself, and then you brought this up with like that searching externally for who we are, right? Because we do that a lot. We watch Dr. Phil, Oprah, we watch all these Iyanla Fix My Life. We do all of this external searching, so that we can like find that happy, find that joy, get our place back in life. And so we begin to search externally for these things to try to get us back where we were. So like when I was in the military, I would, ask my husband, like, hey, tell me about myself, tell me, tell me like all of these things, and I would put it on him, or I would put it on, somebody else, for why I wasn't feeling the way that I'm feeling, or the way that I was feeling, right? But it wasn't until I actually had gotten to a deeper self with myself, God had to literally sit me down and say, Alicia, stop playing. Stop playing. You know that everything that you are, every way that I've created you to be, in all of your loveliness and all of the beauty that I've placed you in, right? You know that you can simply come back to me, get to know me so that you can get to know you. Um, and so, oh, there was something else. I got you, Jazz. I got you. I got but there's something else when it comes to the external searching externally. I lost my point. Okay, so let me go to Jasmine. It's probably gonna come back when she says something. So go ahead, Jasmine.
I wasn't trying to throw you off. I was literally having a conversation with God. That was so good. What you were saying was so good, Alicia. So good. Because I think one of the things that we get caught up in is when we ask others about ourselves, we're searching for something that only God can give. Only you know. So like it makes me reflect back on my life because when I was looking for joy, I was looking for purpose, I was looking for peace, I was looking for all these things that are found within me. I would always go ask other people. And I would be like sitting here just like, okay, wait, why am I like maybe they can see something that I can't see. But like it goes back to like no one knows like that it's a verse in the Bible that says no one knows like the plans that God has for you. No one knew you. The only person that it says in the Bible that knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb was God. That's the only person that the only thing that's like I knew you. Not so if you knew me before I was formed in my mother's womb, before I had this earthly experience, like what made me think that I needed to go to other people for validation? What made me think like it when you look at it from that concept of God already knew you. God already knew you before he formed you. He already knew you. Like it takes us back to a space of saying, you know what? If God already knew me, that means he knew what I was like. He knew who I looked like. He knew the gifts he put inside me. He knew every part of me. And it brings another concept that if God knew me, that means I knew me too. So like if I knew me and if God knew me, then that means I'm looking for things out here doesn't make sense because I'm not human first. I'm spirit first. So it goes back to that whole concept. If you missed our last a couple weeks talk, you are spirit first. Spirit first. So like with me understanding that concept, I no longer like even when I find myself being like, okay, I need to ask them this about me. I need to ask this. I take a step back now. Now that I have knowledge, now that I have exposure, now that I'm entering into a different level of consciousness, I'm able to say, you know what? I don't need to go to anyone about anything concerning Jasmine because everything concerning Jasmine already knows, and God knows it because God lives in me. If I am one with God, then He's already telling me things. It's am I listening? Am I open enough to receive? When will I take the time to accept myself? So it has nothing to do about us asking other people for validation and confirmation. It has everything to do with when will you accept what God created you to be? When will you take the time to invest and connect with your higher self? When will you do that? Because a lot of us won't. A lot of us have been taught rejection. A lot of us have been taught to reject ourselves, to reject like wearing certain things, doing certain things are wrong, and it's all contrary to it's contrary to the word of God, but two, it's contrary to the idea of like you discovering and creating yourself. Like who told you couldn't wear makeup? Who told you that you couldn't like dye your hair purple? like you it's amazing when you have conversation with kids. Who told you couldn't smile? You couldn't be happy to enjoy life. Last time I checked, when children are born, like, and this goes back to this whole idea of being spirit first, you guys. If you are spirit first and you're on earth for a human experience, you see things differently. Think of yourself as a kid. When you see children don't come in when they birth. They don't come in like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. Where am I going? Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so no, they come in with this, I'm so curious. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, mommy, this apple it's amazing. Oh my gosh, why is that star so shiny? Oh my gosh, the trees are beautiful. They come in with this internal joy. So it lets you know that joy is a spiritual thing. It's the idea of experiencing and enjoying the human experience, not necessarily trying to put a definition on it, trying to control it, just letting it be and enjoying the aspect of being. But it goes back to that whole concept of like, if I understand that I am spirit first, then I can enjoy all of this, because if I'm spirit first, if spirit I came, spirit I return. But if I say I'm human, that only limits me to experience on a human aspects of what's limited in this world. But that's not who you are. Yeah, like, and the thing is, we all know we're not just humans. We all know. We always dreaming about superpowers. We always talking about having different experiences. Some of us talk about, like how like our interactions with the supernatural world. Some of us talk about those things, like, but we started talking about them as children, but we're muzzled. But it goes back to the idea of like, even children know. Children may not have words and concept and language for it, but they even know that they are spiritual beings first. That's why they came with that curiosity, because everything's so familiar. It's so new to them. So I'm gonna pass the mic back to Alicia.
What you did was you brought up a great point and where I was headed to next, right? So you already hit, so where I lost off, where I got lost was rejection, and you covered that, right? So a, a lot of the times what we do is as children, and I love how you brought up going back to that childlike mindset, because we that's where we experience a lot of our joys. That's where we experience giving people grace in life, and just not having a care in the world, right? Like, not just living that life, not having bills. How about that? Not having bills. I tell my kids all the time, I say, you don't know how good you got it. So being able to have that imagination, right? So but after a while, that imagination starts to break down, because we start putting demands. We are not we start let's put ourselves in that position. Demands are put on us, right? As we begin to grow older. Okay, look, you got to learn these responsibilities. You're going to have to go to school. You better make all these A's. And we put a lot of pressure, or a lot of pressure was placed on us. But then what also carries this is if there was like traumatic experiences. So like for me, and around Christmas time, it's not bad, just because this has been years. But my brother passed away not during Christmas, but what we ended up doing before he passed away was having an early Christmas, right? So that image is always like in my mind, right? We had an early Christmas so that my brother could see Christmas before he died. And so that is always like in my mind when it comes to like experiencing the joys of life. And I always go back and I think about like trying to hold on to like that joy. He had brought everybody, all of my brothers and sisters, a gift, right? And he had bought me a book. It was a green book. It was the 12 days of Christmas, and I don't want to cry, but I would literally sit and read that book. So I would find joy. I would try to find joy in that moment, right? Because as I was still a child, and so as children, we try our hardest not to let it go. We don't let anything come between us and our joy. And so God tells us to be like that child today. Our experiences as we grow up, our experiences as we have to live life, it tends to block that inner child. And so a lot of people try to tell us to don't shut that child down. You don't want to deal with that or whatever. But I want to say, validate that inner child. Validate that childlike voice that's inside of you, because that's the place of where your vulnerability comes from. That's the place of where God is able to speak to you. Because if we think about our adult mind, right, it's easy to reject ideas. It's easy to reject concepts. It's easy to just reject things that we would have easily accepted as a child, right? We live life so freely as a child. So when it comes to thinking about joy and bringing our joy back, especially around this time, is not just thinking of a happy moment, but thinking of and asking God God, how can I get back to this joyful place? How do I begin to experience life unlimited, right? How do I get to a place of where, I can go into my workplace and, people might say all kinds of things about me or whatever, but I can still walk away smiling. You know what I'm saying? Like in the military, as a Black female in the military, you have it the worst. I am not playing. I tell people all the time, do not join the military if you do not have thick skin. The military is and even for women, there is all kinds of just, it's male dominated, white male dominated. So my experience in the military, I had to find my joy, but eventually it took over me and I lost my smile. I just couldn't do it anymore. And a lot of people ask me, well, why did you get out? I said, it's just not for me. It's not. I'm not going to stay in a place of where I cannot cultivate my joy, where my joy, like it cannot last, right? So woo, y'all, like this is my life. This is why I started Morning Motivations, because I share me. I give you parts of me so that you can begin to heal. I'm already healed from this. I'm like Jasmine. I'm living in my best life. I'm living in freedom. I'm living in the freedom to make decisions and walk away from people who I don't have to deal with. I'm not in, no one's in control of how I should be feeling. No one. If you say something to me, it's not going to rock my boat. It's not going to throw me off for the day. No, I'm going to keep pushing. Why? Because you don't control what I feel. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Jasmine because I'm feeling a little bit excited.
Okay, listen, Alicia, that was all like completely amazing because it made me go back to this one thing, right? A lot of us feel like, you know, when it comes to joy, the one thing God kept highlighting and talking to me about is like it's all about choice, all about choice. Like when you understand that you have a choice in everything that shows up in your life, it you handle it differently. Like the times where I'm like, when you was talking about the military. I talked about, working my 9 to 5 and how, I didn't feel like I belonged there. I didn't feel like I had the space. I didn't feel like I had the ability to do the things that I wanted to do. I felt like I was constrained by limitations, by titles, by roles. And I was just like, I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free. That's always been my thing. I want to break free. So like literally, like when you were talking about that, like a lot of things that constrict our joy is because we feel like we don't have a choice to do things. We don't have a choice in the matter. But we all know if we take a step back, let's take a step back. Like if God, the one thing God gave us was the power to create. He gave us the power to create, and He gave us the power of choice. That's the whole thing of free will, right? You have a choice in everything that's showing up right now in your life. Believe it or not, like you may talk yourself out of that choice, but that does not mean that you don't have the choice. So I'm gonna give you an example, right? Because we make this really, really what's the name? We had like when I was working and I was like, I don't, I want to break free. And I talked about this Saturday. That's interesting. Like I was saying I want to break free. I made every excuse. I can't quit my 9 to 5 because how am I gonna have money? How am I gonna have this? When am I gonna work? How am I gonna pay these bills? How am I gonna do? And literally like guys, like you have a choice, quit. No, like you have a choice. Everything in your life, quit. You don't like where you're at, move. You don't but the thing is we talk ourselves out of it. And every time we talk ourselves out of it, we're putting resistance between us and joy, resistance between us and freedom. So like when I finally made the decision to quit my job, did I have that inner dialogue of saying, "Oh my gosh, like how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that?" Like yes, I did. But once I worked through the surface and pushed all of that out, I understood that I had the choice to say, that's not my only way to make money. Hey, like if we was really to be honest, like I have like listen, I told this in my what's name. Within my business, I do what I do because I love it. It's my purpose, it's my passion. Like it's not my purpose. It's a part or an extension of the assignment of my purpose. There we go. As an extension of the assignment of my purpose, right? But when it comes down to it, like I haven't made any money. So like, if I haven't made any money, for many of y'all like, well, sis, like, how you surviving? Because I understand that money is not my life. Money is not more valuable than Jasmine being here. That car is not more valuable. If I die, I don't need no car. Naked in this world, I came naked, I leave out. I can't take no money with me in the grave. You look, we can bury it. Go ahead, bury it like the Egyptians. Sis, it's staying on earth because it's not needed in the spirit. It's staying on earth. So like, all of these things that I'm elevating over my existence, elevating over my self-worth, elevating over the importance of me just being Jasmine, the value of my spirit. The value of my spirit is more than anything on this earth. Nothing on this earth can pay for my spirit. Nothing on this earth can even be equated to my spirit. So now that I have that understanding, there's joy that comes with the idea of knowing and being that, right? So like, we talk ourselves out of that, but when we have choices, Alicia, I'm not gonna tell you the full story, but you made a choice, right? Did you make the choice to stay in a place that was unhealthy for you, or did you make the choice to leave? When you made the choice to stay, when you made the choice to stay, you 9 times out of 10 deal with that internal resistance, because the thing is, internally, you're saying, I'm worth more than this. I don't have to deal with this. I can go somewhere. I can be free. But in your head, you're using logic to say that you can't do these things. But what I understand is, and this is where some people, you got to get there, right? When there's a will, there's a way. That doesn't mean you work for it. That just means like God's going to answer prayers. God's going to live. And the thing is, God has already said, it's not even God answering prayers. Like that takes a step back. Let me take a step into maturity. God has already said you have all that you need. He didn't say you all have all that you need inside of you. He said he said you have all that you need. All that you need is in him. So he already said, if you need a house, you have a house. You already have houses here. You just got to put yourself in position. Make it align with it. It's not you got to work and sweat, blood, and tears and hustle. No, what is for you is for you. People say that all the time, but don't really get the concept. If God has already said it is for you, that means that at some point in your life, even it could be in the next couple of seconds, at some point in your life, whatever you need is going to come into fruition. It's going to manifest because you're aligning yourself with it. You're literally putting yourself in position to say that I have all I need. I have it. You are it, sis. You are the solution. You are the blueprint. You are the answer. Not you have the answer. You are the answer. Your being is the answer. So like, when we get that, there's a different type of joy of just saying, you know what? I'm it. Like, that's it. It's nothing else. I don't have to conform to nobody else. Like in Jasmine times, I'm the shit. Like that's the best way to say it. Like, and it's not out of a place. The thing is, it's not out of a place of arrogance of just saying it. It's just the idea of being true to you, like being true to who you are. Like, when you're true to who you are and you accept yourself, it don't matter who else do it. It don't matter who else. Like, honestly, if you want to be truthful, the reason why many people struggle and why I struggled at certain points in my life with certain things is that I was attracting the very thing I wanted people. I was attracting the very thing I said I didn't want people to do. So because I rejected myself, I attracted other people that would reject me. Because I was like, oh, well, it's not godly to curse. I attracted people that told me it was not godly to curse. When I attracted people that, when I said, you know, God, I want to dress anywhere I want to dress, people say you can't wear, you can't wear fitted clothes. You can't look feminine. You got to make sure you're covered up so men don't touch you. And when I did, I attracted people with that mindset. But now that I attract that, I can do whatever I want. I can be whatever I want. I attract people with that same energy, that same frequency, that same vibration of saying, you know what? You have the ability to be girl, sis. If you want purple hair, go get purple hair. If you want a nose piercing, go get a nose piercing. If you want to go to move out of the state, move out of the state. What is holding you? The narrative and barriers of others? How long shall that hold you? But is it their life? Is it their experience? Because at the end of the day, after this is all over, when you die, you can't say, oh, mama told me not to do this. My ex-boyfriend said I was ugly. You can't go with that mindset into the grave. It'll keep you bound. But when you die, you want to know that you did everything that you needed to do, everything you wanted to do, everything you wanted to create on earth. It's your experience. It's not nobody else. It's not Alicia's experience. Alicia's experience is Alicia's experience. Jasmine's experience is Jasmine's experience. But sis, your experience, That's up to you. You have so many choices. So, if anything you take away from today's morning motivation, before I pass it back to Alicia, what choice? Stop denying your choices. Go ahead and write them out. I have the choice of what hair color I want to wear. I could have red hair. I could have blue hair. I have the choice of what state I want to move to, what country I want to move to. I can live in Brazil. I can live in Paris. I can go to Florida. I can go to Virginia. I can go to Atlanta. I can go to Miami. I can go anywhere I want. I have a choice of working. I have a choice of starting a business. I have a choice of working. I have a choice of living in passion. I have a choice of staying stuck. I have a choice of getting unstuck. I have the choice of healing. I have the choice of not healing. Like, you have so many choices. Open them up. Put them before you and choose what you want. Now, don't come back saying, hey Jasmine, I chose to stay stuck because you told me. No, you chose to stay stuck because you wanted to stay stuck. You could choose any time and any place to move. So it takes a lot of maturity, right? Because it puts the power back on you to say that you are literally in control of things that are happening right now in your life. And although you feel like you don't have control, you do. You just haven't taken the steps to do so. So this is Jasmine Porter, and I'm complete.
That was a lot. That was amazing. That you gave so much. So um let's go ahead. So we got 5 days of talking about joy. And so I feel like it's a good place to go ahead and end right now. And so tomorrow, before we close out, we're going to invite some people on Clubhouse to the stage to actually talk and share, maybe, talk about, their place of joy, and or just add some remarks to what me and Jasmine have talked about today. But also another thing that I want to bring up was, if you, Jasmine, could you pin the link to the email or the sign up sheet? So if you are interested and you absolutely enjoyed today, I would like for you to go ahead and just sign up or click on the link that Jasmine is going to post here. What that does is it is going to give you notifications on when we are going live. It's about 10 minutes before, and it's going to be an email to your phone. But what you're also going to get is a deep dive form where you can actually begin to actually ask yourself the questions based off of the topic today. And really jump in and do a deep dive. That's what that is. So before we go ahead and let Facebook go, Jasmine, one of the things to manage our own joy. And ultimately, it's not about doing anything when it comes to joy, except for being in God. That's really all it is. And that's why I tell people all the time, just be, just be. That's it. And so that's what we have for, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Jasmine so she can go ahead, reset, and work on the room on Clubhouse. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here on Facebook. So everybody say goodbye to Jasmine on the Facebook. All right, go ahead. All right, so Facebook, thank you all for joining. Miss Niger, it was so good to have you today. So glad that you can tune in. And Maya, and who else? I think it was Miss Sabrina also here today. So we're going to be talking about joy all week. We are here Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. And again, this week we're talking about joy. Last week we talked about actually forgot abundance, living in abundance. And the week before that, we talked about the storm before the rainbow. So if you want to catch those replays, you can. But if you're interested in just learning more, just click on that link that I posted in the comments. I am so excited for this week, as this is the time of the year where it can be hard to deal with the season because of all the things that happen around the season, but it's supposed to be this time of joy and happiness. So that's what we have today. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you again tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Have a great holiday. Talk to you all later.